Just waiting for the thing to come up here so that I can see you and I can see your questions and stuff like that as well. So please feel free to interact as well. So this is a fully immersive, fully interactive conversation that we're going to have. So if you do have any questions, please just let me know. Right. The reason why I've got the phone going on is because there's a bit of a lag. So I can get to see your questions sooner as well. So what I wanted to talk to you about this evening was a particular part of our brain, which has come under a lot of interest actually recently. And I'll share with you at the end why it's such an important and such an amazing, fascinating subject that I feel when it comes to neurodiversity and certain things that have come to light in recent years through scientific studies. And the reason why I'm so excited about it is because the very thing that I'm going to show you at the end actually works with this 100% in harmony. So I want to make sure that I give you all the information first, then I can share with you the exciting part. It is amazing. I love it. So welcome to this amazing Neurodiversity Week. How amazing is that for positively empowered kids to actually put on something like this, you know, that is actually given to the community. And I think we should just give them a round of applause as well, because they do an amazing job, and it's all about love and from the heart. So, and that's where this world's going. So it's all good. So I wanted to talk to you this evening about a particular part of our brain called the amygdala. Now, I don't know if you know what the amygdala is, but I'll describe it briefly. So the amygdala is like an almond-shaped nub, okay? And you've got two of them either side of your head, around about here. And they're in part of the limbic system of your brain, and they're responsible for your fight, flight, freeze responses. So they pump certain chemicals around the body. So for fear and flight and fight, those sort of responses, you get like the adrenals start to kick in. So you get something like the cortisol. Cortisol is the stress hormone in the body. If you're anxious, if you're stressed, then the amygdala is kicking in on a negative aspect and putting out these chemicals into our bodies. And we know it because we feel really tense, right? So that the chemicals kind of give us on the emotional aspect, and it gives us into the physical aspect of what it is we're experiencing, which is telling us to get the hell out of there. It's dangerous. It's not in alignment with what we know to be safe, right? So that's one thing that the amygdala does. The other thing that the amygdala does as well is it pumps out other chemicals into the body. So it's responsible for both aspects of this. And what it pumps out is things like dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, you know, the bliss chemical. So it's actually responsible for kicking out all those chemicals as well. And you know what they make you feel like? They make you feel relaxed. They make you feel chilled out. You know, they make it feel like, especially like on a Sunday after you've had a big Sunday roast. And what's the thing? You just feel really tired and everything else. And this is the amygdala kicking into action. Okay, so it's feeling blissed out. All right. So the amygdala has a very important role within our behavioral construct as human beings, and not just as human beings. You're going to learn. And the reason why it's so important to understand this when it comes to neurodiversity is because of the following studies. I'm going to read out a few things to you. It's not going to be very long, but the information in there is profound, and I'm not sure if you're aware of this. And even if you're not aware of it, even if you don't have neurodiverse children, if you want to learn about it, it actually gets us to understand why somebody might be behaving the way that they behave when there's an emotional charge that happens. And so I'm just going to share this with you. So researchers who study the region of the brain in the limbic system, primarily the amygdala, they said that its function is broader, and it plays a crucial role in autism. And so here it says, emotion is such a big part of social function, says Wei Gao, Associate Professor of Biomedical Sciences at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, California. She says, so I think the amygdala has got a lot, sorry, she says, I think the amygdala has got to have a big role in the emergence or development of autism-related traits. So it goes on to say down here, the amygdala has long been a focus of autism research, but its exact role in the condition is still unclear. To understand how this small structure contributes to autism, researchers may need to take a broad look at how the amygdala develops over time, its connections to larger brain networks, and its role in other conditions, especially anxiety, that often accompanies autism. As far back as in the 1950s, studies on primates suggested that the amygdala is a key player in social behavior. If most of the dominant monkey in the social group sustains, if the most dominant monkey in the social group sustains damage to its amygdala, its position in the hierarchy soon plummets. So there's something happening there, you know, this isn't even on a human aspect, but there's something that happens when that amygdala is not functioning the way it should do, that the other monkeys pick up on it. They notice a behavioral trait, right? People who sustain damage to the amygdala have social behaviors reminiscent of autism. Some as avoiding eye contact and difficulty in judging facial expressions, but they do not meet the diagnostic criteria for the condition. Altered amygdala structure or function has been linked to nearly every neuropsychiatric condition, from anxiety and bipolar disorder to schizophrenia, making it difficult to say how the region might uniquely explain autism traits. So there it's saying about that, you know, when the amygdala has been affected, it has an effect on being able to judge certain things. So it's hard to judge faces, it's hard to judge expressions. And this is what we might experience with autistic children and adults who find it hard to, you know, when they're looking at you strangely, you know, and that might not actually be because they're looking at you strangely, they're, you know, that they're being rude. It's just that they have no idea what's going on a facial recognition aspect, you know. It says in 2000, British researcher Simon Baron Cohen published an influential paper detailing his amygdala theory of autism. He argued that diminished amygdala function hinders autistic people's ability to pay attention and to interpret social information. But the picture soon grew more complex. For example, one in 2005 studies showed that when evaluating facial expressions, autistic people show less activation in their amygdala than controls do. However, when they look at the eye region of the face, their amygdala lights up more strongly than that of their controls. So the controls being like expressions. So in fact, there are some evidences that there is a difficulty in interpreting emotions that may result from excessive activation of the amygdala. So when the amygdala is activated excessively, what happens is it creates a massive amount of cortisol. That stress hormone stays in the body becomes acidic, and anything that's living in an acidic environment, you know, it's not where we should be living. I'll give you an example. For when you have a zebra in Africa, for example, right, on the plains, and it gets chased by a lion, what's the first thing the zebra does when it knows it's being chased? It runs, right? And it will run and run and run and run and run until it gets away from the lion. Now, let's say it gets away from the lion and, you know, it escapes the lion. Within 20 minutes, the amygdala on the zebra has calmed down. All the energy that was now once pumped just to the muscles. So when the amygdala is triggered, the digestion stops, the brain function slows right down. There's no thought, you know, conscious thought happening. It's on a subconscious programming, and all the energy goes to the muscles and the lungs and the heart. Okay, so because it needs to get away, but within 20 minutes, it's back grazing again. and as if nothing happened. So that's how we should be. But in society as we are in right now, it doesn't work like that. So, you know, we bathe in a bath of cortisol, and it's really unhealthy for our bodies. And so when that amygdala for these guys is stimulated to that point, it becomes very acidic. So it's also, they're saying with conditions, especially anxiety, that accompany autism, is important for regulating emotions, and are weaker in those with autism. So it says over the first 2 years of life, the amygdala's connections to these sensory and motor areas diminish. The amygdala forms connections to the prefrontal cortex, so that's this part here, that look similar to the circuits responsible for regulating emotions in adults. This might be a critical period for such capability emerging, Gao says. It is also the period during which early autism signs unfold. So they're seeing a correlation between how the actual amygdala is forming, how it's actually, how it's growing or how it's not, the neuroconnectors that are involved with that, and seeing how that actually also shows the early signs of autism. So that was one thing I wanted to share with you. And there's lots of information on this stuff out there. And it's fascinating when you start to look at it and start to understand it, you know. And I think a lot of the time we don't tend to understand it. We just kind of brush past it and accept it for what it is, but we don't understand it. And so, you know, understanding is the key. Okay, understanding is the key, looking at what's going on within the mechanisms, because it's not just the child that you see or the adult that you see that's struggling with that. You know, there's something going on deeper down. There was a guy in America, and I think it was in the 1950s, very famous case where he had an issue. And so he was an ex-Marine, and he felt something was wrong with him. And one day he ended up going up into the tower of the university, the college, and he started opening fire on the students. And he was a crack shot, you know. He was one of the best out there, and but he was taking these people out, and everyone thought he was this horrible bad person. But actually, when the police came in, they shot him dead, obviously, in the end. But in a suicide letter, he said, "I think something's wrong with my brain. Please, can someone, when I die," because he obviously knew it was going to happen, "when I die, can somebody please look at my brain? I think there was something wrong." Well, when they did the autopsy on him, they looked at his brain and the amygdala. He had a huge tumor pressing against the amygdala, and that was the thing that was responsible for his behavioral outbursts. Now, that doesn't mean that, you know, if someone can't have their sweets, you know, that's because the amygdala's, you know, not doing or not growing or grown too much. That's just temper tantrums. But when it comes to more long-term serious things like that, it's telling us something that actually just what we're seeing from the front of someone doesn't mean that that's who they are. You know, there's something else happening inside. And so how many other things have we experienced like that when it comes to the amygdala? You know, and we've seen things happen like that, you know, just something to think about, that there's a lot more that goes on. Most of the time we never really get to hear about that. But when it comes to autism, we rarely get, I mean, did you hear any of this information before? Do you ever hear any of that coming out? Because it's really important that stuff comes out. And so, you know, again, the understanding of something, that's the only time we really get to know, and we can actually show our empathy. Otherwise we might become a bit judgmental to someone with you know, neurodiverse complexes. So the thing I wanted to speak to you about, and I know this is prominent in autism as well, is anxiety. All right, that they're very closely linked. And anxiety, you know, the only thing that triggers anxiety is the amygdala. Do you see how these things are starting to link together? So if you suffer with anxiety and you don't know what kind of anxiety you have, that becomes a huge issue. You must know this, otherwise the issue is global. All it comes down to is they're having an anxiety attack, but for what reason? It's like trying to get specific, and it's really hard, especially with neurodiverse people, to actually get specific sometimes. And that's the only time you can find that is through investigation, I guess, afterwards, when they're calm. And so we have many different kinds of anxiety. We have social anxiety, we have specific phobias which cause anxiety, we have panic disorder, we have obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD, we have post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and all these will trigger the amygdala in certain ways, and in whichever way it's going to do it, it's going to give you the release of cortisol in the body and all the other adrenals that go with it, that make your heart beat really quickly and stop you from getting your breath properly. And then you get more confused because you're getting less oxygen, and the whole thing becomes a big thing. And somebody might be looking at somebody in a shop who's having an anxiety attack, especially neurodiverse people, and they just judge them because they look at them and go, oh, what's happening there? But they don't know the deeper story. And this is the message I'm going to keep relaying to you, is there's a deeper story going on. We don't know the full story. And quite often they don't even know the full story, or the parents don't even know the full story. So we have to have that level of empathy and open-mindedness to say, well, whatever's happening there, we don't know the truth. Okay, we have our element of the truth of what we're seeing, but that doesn't make it true. They have their element of the truth of what they're feeling, but that doesn't make it true. But then there is the truth. So there's my truth, their truth, and the truth, you see. And quite often we miss that one, and we go by what we believe to be, just because what we're seeing. And the eyes are very elusive, let's say. So there's two types of fear that create anxiety. Okay, so you have an innate fear. So innate fears would be something that we're naturally scared of, that's been passed down through centuries. So for example, if a lion was near us, we'd get pretty nervous, right? We think we're going to get eaten, right? That's the amygdala happening. And there's so the amygdala is broken up into several parts. So you have something called the central amygdala, and that's responsible for your innate fear, the stuff that's been passed down through the generations. So if it wasn't passed through that, right, we'd be the lion's dinner potentially, right? If we were going, oh, nice lion, and we go to smooth it, it's probably going to bite your hand off, right? So we need these innate built-in fears, okay, because it keeps us, but that definitely keeps us safe. It's a definite survival mechanism. But the other type of fear that we have is a learned fear, and learned fears come from part of the amygdala called the basolateral amygdala, and this receives information which it relays to the central amygdala. And remember, the central amygdala is responsible also for your inherent things, okay, the innate aspects of it. So its primary function is fear and stimulating fear response. So let's say, for example, a learned fear is you put your hand on the hot cooker. You didn't mean to, but you did. Oh, and you learn very quickly not to put your hand back on there for the next half an hour, right? Well, that's a learned fear. You realize through that stimulus and response that that's hot. So that's a learned fear. So they're the two types of fear that we have. There was a neuroscientist called Joseph Ledoux, and he shed some light on this, and it's shocking. Well, you'll understand that pun. I'm not an advocate for testing on animals, by the way, but this thing came up. It was already done, and so, but it just brings light to the situation. So this is how the amygdalas work and how fear works, especially for the learnt-based fear. So if you shock a rat, it freezes, okay, because of the shock. But that's an innate fear. That's a natural thing that happens. We naturally get shocked, okay, or the rat would naturally get shocked. That's the innate fear. But if you play a beep to the rat, nothing happens. You do the shock, it gets shocked. Innate fear. Play a beep, doesn't worry about it at all. Now, if you play the beep and then shock the rat, It causes a stress response to the amygdala, and the rat soon becomes aware that the beep means shock, and therefore becomes afraid of the beep. Now it's got a learnt fear. So the rat has now become conditioned. So how do we change the conditioning? We must learn or change how the amygdala reacts to a particular situation. And the only way we can do that is by relaxing the amygdala in order to go back and change the condition or the belief. If you have neurodiverse people who have a particular belief and it's not an innate thing, so it's not something that's built into them, it's something they've learned to be afraid of, you know, this is an ideal way of actually changing that belief. But also, if it's an innate fear, because of what I'm going to show you in a second, actually works in harmony with the amygdala. It has massive benefits, because if you can relax the amygdala, you relax the fear, you relax the anxiety, okay? You relax the chemicals being released into the body. And actually what we know through science is what I'm about to show you releases the good ones. Actually, it releases the dopamine, the serotonin, the oxytocin, starts to relax the whole body, okay? And the thing I want to share with you is something called EFT, Emotional Freedom Techniques. It's about 15 or 20 years old now. It's developed in the States by a guy called Gary Craig. And I've been working with clients with this for 6-7 years full time now. Gave up my job working with children in care, and felt the need to go and share this with people, because the results I experienced for myself were profound. And so what we know through science is when we're using EFT. So let me describe what EFT is. EFT is using the end meridian points of acupuncture points. Okay, so with acupuncture, you put needles in certain energy points in the body. Okay, so this is an ancient Chinese energy system. Now we know that these energy points exist. We know that they're real because they put some luminescent dye into somebody, and they said, well, there's definitely one there, so we'll use that to map out and we'll see if it follows a line. And when they put the dye in, it followed exactly that line. And when they put it into a place where they knew there wasn't one of those energy lines, it just stayed there and spread sporadically. So we know that this energy system exists in our body. So what we do with EFT is we've refined it a little bit. Instead of trying to stick needles in our bodies, you know, some people don't like needles. It's a time-consuming thing, and you want to be able to do it quick and easily. So what we discovered was, by tapping with our fingertips on these end meridian points, we can actually start to stimulate that energy flow in the body again. That's a massive thing, because scientifically it's proven that when we're doing this, we're sending calming signals to the amygdala part of the brain, the very thing that's creating these stress responses. So if we can calm the amygdala down, then we can start getting back to the root causes of what's going on. You know, you cannot get through to someone when they're already there in an anxious mind and they're in full-blown attack, especially neurodiverse people, right? That's a time thing that you just have to wait. But if we can actually work with them whilst they're calm and keep that amygdala calm, they learn this behavior. They learn a different kind of behavior, and the amygdala will start to respond differently as well. So what we do is we tap on these points. So this is what you call the karate chop point. We tap on this. So let's say, you know, they're starting to get a little bit irate. Okay, so you can see the changes. You'll notice the changes. Parents that have neurodiverse children will know, and adults that will know the changes, and it's catching it at the right time. And you just say on here, to us tapping on here, you just say to yourself, or you say to them, get them to say with you as well. There's something called surrogate tapping, where they don't even need to say anything. You're transmuting that energy across to them. And the proof of that is the scientific study that was done is you can take you can take an atom, split the atom in half, and you put one to the other side of the world, and you put one in one room. And what happens is when you tickle one, basically, the other one responds on the other side of the world. Okay. And then after a little bit of time, what starts to happen is, before you tickle this one, the one on the other side of the world already starts to respond as if it's being tickled, yet you haven't even started on that one yet. So we know about energy and how things are connected. So when you're tapping on behalf of someone, you can definitely send that energy to them. Honestly, it works. So you would tap on here and you would say, even though, so even though is, we're not trying to deny that it's there, but we're also not trying to fix it. We're just acknowledging it is the way it is right now. So let's say his name is Jack, you know, and even though Jack's feeling really, you know, starting to look really anxious, even though Jack's starting to change, I deeply and completely accept who I am and how I feel. Even though Jack's starting to get really anxious, I deeply and completely accept who I am and how I feel. Even though Jack's starting to get really, really anxious, I can see him changing now, and I don't know what I can do to fix it because nothing I do seems to be able to work. But I deeply and completely accept who I am and how I feel. Okay, these are simple words. It looks nuts, but honestly, it works. So then we go to the top of the head and we start tapping on here and we say, you know, Jack's starting to, you know, I can see Jack starting to react. I can see that Jack's starting to change in his body language. I can see Jack starting to, you know, he's becoming tense. I can see Jack's, you know, on that road to having an attack of some sort. I see that Jack's not happy. I see that Jack's feeling quite stressed. I don't like it when Jack's stressed. It's all about being honest, okay? I don't like it when Jack's stressed. I'd love to see Jack relaxed. I'd love to see Jack relaxed. What if Jack could just relax right now? What if Jack could actually just start to calm down? What if Jack's amygdala, so now we're getting specific, what if Jack's amygdala was just to start calming down? What if Jack's amygdala was calm? What if Jack's amygdala was calm and relaxed? What if Jack's amygdala wasn't causing him any stress? What if Jack's amygdala was pumping out those good hormones instead? What if Jack's amygdala was actually sending out those beautiful, feel blissful chemicals? What if Jack's amygdala was sending out serotonin? Ah, what if Jack's amygdala was sending out oxytocin? Oh, wow. What if Jack's amygdala was sending out dopamine? That would feel so good, and I know Jack would be relaxed. So what if I just see Jack's amygdala sending out these calmer signals? What if we could get Jack just to calm down? What if Jack was a lot calmer? Okay, so what you can do also at that point is just take a deep breath. And you can just monitor Jack. And you'll find that there will be some subtle changes. Ideally, it's using it on them, okay? Or ideally, if they don't like being touched, because some have sensory issues, I understand that. So if there's a sensory issue, what you can do is tap on behalf of them, but get them to join in and have some fun. Yeah, you can get Jack to tap on a teddy bear. If he doesn't want to be tapped on, you can get him to tap on that. Again, is a lot to do with an intention as well, okay, and attention. But just through EFT alone can send these amazing signals to the amygdala part of the brain, where it can just start to relax and chill out. And you as a parent or carer or guardian, I'm sure would feel the benefits to that as well, 100%. Again, sometimes parents struggle because they know what's coming and they know the consequence of that. And so if we could just get parents just to use this, just so that they, or carers and guardians, you know, just to calm down, just so that they can be in a mind of clarity and just go, right, well, I know what's to come now. And that you'll find that your tolerance levels will improve massively as well. So I just wanted to share that with you because the amygdala is a huge part of this. I don't think it's been covered during here. this week, and it's why I wanted to come in today and actually share that with you, because it's like I said, it's a huge part of the puzzle. It's not the complete part for sure, but it's a huge part on the puzzle, you know. And it's as we start piecing these pieces together, we start to get a better picture. So remember, anyone that you see in a shop, in someone else's home, wherever it might be, you know, and you start to see behavioral changes, we don't know the story, we don't know their story, and they probably don't even know their story, and therefore we're not in a place to judge. It's just, if you see that, you can do one of two things. Okay, you can send them, oh my god, look at that, or you can just send them love and, you know, and well-being, and say, you're going to get better soon. Honestly, that transference of energy means the world to anyone that receives that, and they might not even know, but they will start to calm down, you know, but they wouldn't know why. So I wanted to share that with you. If you want to get in touch with me for more of this, or want to learn EFT with me, want to do some sessions, I'm always available. So you can contact me at info@happymindhappyyou.com, or feel free to add me on Facebook and we can have a chat then as well. It's such an amazing tool because it aims directly in the area of the amygdala, which is directly responsible for behavioral traits. Not the only thing, but it's a massive part of the whole thing. So I hope that's been helpful to you. I'm just gonna have a look now for just gonna have a look at some questions here. So does anybody have any questions? What's the book called, Amanda, for the book about the amygdala? If you can share that with us, that would be great. Thank you. Yeah, you're very welcome, Laura. Lovely to see you. So, great question, Amanda. So, I'm actually in the process at the moment of creating a course for this. And primarily at the moment, I'm aiming it for teenagers. And honestly, it's fully immersive, and I guarantee changes in 4 weeks. And it doesn't matter if, um, you know, it doesn't matter whether they're neurodiverse or not, to be honest. I know there's going to be results. I know there's going to be results. The relationships change, and I do guarantee that in 4 weeks. So that's to come. That's not here yet, but it's very close to coming. So that's one thing I can do. I'm always available for talks as well, and interviews and stuff like that. So if people want to grab me, we can do that for no problem at all. Okay, so good question. I'm interested in EFT. What's the best way to get started? Well, a little story was, the way I got into EFT, okay, I didn't want to pay for a particular course that was happening. And it was Dr. Joe Vitale, who's, you know, quite up there. He's not anything to do with really EFT in the EFT world, but he is to do with personal growth and transformation. And I didn't want to pay for his course because I had no money. And so I thought, right, I've got to find the back door into this. I've got to know what he's doing so I can just do it, right? And I couldn't find anything on what he was doing for this particular course. And I spent hours trawling through all of his stuff, interviews and everything else, to try to get something on him. And just one interview showed him using these tapping techniques. And that got me into it, because I thought, well, is that it? Oh my God, I spent all this time. And so I did it on something quite trivial from childhood, something trivial, and it worked. A treat. Now there's lots of videos. Actually, there's a video on the PEC website for this. I'm showing EFT on there. So definitely head over to there, and it teaches you how to use it. But have some self-exploratory, YouTube is okay. The only thing I would say when you're looking at YouTube, it's great to learn the techniques, but the thing is with YouTube, you're not going to get the desired results as you might want. Okay. And then a lot of people say EFT doesn't work, but the only reason why that is because you haven't got specific enough. See, EFT works on being specific and specificity, something like that. Anyway, yeah, long word. So the more specific you get, the more you hone into the root cause. And this is what EFT is extremely good at doing. It's finding the root cause, picking it out really quickly, and what it does. So I'll tell you how it works. EFT has, in our experience in life, we have experiences and emotions, and we have emotions tied to experiences and experiences tied to emotions. We couldn't have one without the other. Okay. And so what happens is when we do something at 3 years old, and we, something happens and we hold that into our mind and it gets locked in there. And then when we're a bit older, we emotionalize it. Or even if we're older, even if it was like, I don't know, let's say it was a divorce and someone got divorced and they hold that pain in, right? They hold that emotion to that experience. And so therefore they go through their life with that emotional pain. And if someone brings it up, or if they bring it up, it's just too much, and they get really angry. That's because they're holding the emotional attachment to there. And what EFT is really, really good at is disengaging that emotional attachment so that you only have the memory that's there. We should never get rid of memories, okay? Never get rid of memories, but how we're connecting to the memory emotionally, that is the bit that needs to change. And so what EFT does is it takes away the emotion. We don't need it anymore. It happened. We know it happened. We don't need to relive it. So EFT is extremely good for dissolving that and getting rid of the emotional aspect, hence emotional freedom techniques. And so you can learn it on YouTube. You can learn all the tapping points, but you might not get the desired result because you're not with a practitioner. So if you want to get the results that you're aiming for, you can still do work on yourself for sure, but you won't clear the root causes. And the reason for that is because we're too close to our own stuff. Okay, we're too close to our own traumas and our own sensitivities, so therefore we're only going to go so far. And what a practitioner does as well, like what I do, is I'm studying the person. Okay, we're very relaxed, it's all a relaxed thing, but I can see everything that's happening with a person, whether it's online or in person. And so it's only through studying like that. So for example, even if you did a twitch, or sometimes people a facial feature, or eyes open, something like, or a swallow, and I catch that, I'll know that that's potentially something else. There's another trigger there. So we start zoning in, and that's how we start getting specific, and then we get right to the root causes of things. So it's ideal to learn, but it's even better when you work with a practitioner, because that's where you get the real results. Definitely. I hope that helped. There are training courses to train to be an EFT practitioner as well. And I can point you in the direction of an amazing teacher for that, an EFT trainer. Let's see, any other questions? Yeah, Claire Clements, this isn't a question, but it is sign up to the free hub with 50 videos and tools and techniques to support you and your family. www.positivelyempoweredkids.co.uk/hub. So head over there. There's some great, I know because there's a couple of things that I've done over there, and there's so many other amazing people with things to offer as well. It's great. Do you think they're doing a great job? Tap yes in the bar there if you think they're doing a great job. Type in yes. I believe they are. What an amazing team. Oh, Angela Lee. Hi, Angela. Good to see you. So, yeah, Angela had EFT with me, and she got a lot out of it. Definitely. Yeah, I remember that, Angela. Well done. Good to see you here. Good to see you here. You have to sign up. Come and, you know, press like and join the groups. It's amazing. Actually, Angela does something called heart math. Okay, it's another technique, and she's just getting started on it. But I think Angela should definitely head over to Positively Empower Kids. Come and join our network group at the end of this month, Angela, the last Tuesday of the month. Okay, so head over, come in, and introduce yourself to everyone. It's a really good networking group, very supportive, and that's a great place to actually network and share what you do, because you're amazing. Good. Yes, yes. Excellent. They're doing a great job, and we need to make sure they know that. Yeah, we definitely do. Hard work they do. They're always on the go, honestly. They never stop. They're like Duracell. Yeah. Ah, good. Well done, Claire. Yeah. So there you go, Angela. There's the invitation. We have an Essex region for Positively Empowered Kids that I run. So you'd be more than welcome to come in. Do we have any questions about what I've explained today about the amygdala, or any questions about EFT and how it can help neurodiversity? Any questions at all? You've made it too easy for me. Excellent. Oh, I have a question about memory and emotion. Yeah, please go ahead, Laura. What's your question? Laura Bushnell. What's your question, Laura? Oh, let me just check. Yeah, that is a really good point, Laura. So when it comes to memories and emotions, and Laura's saying that, yes, I have memories, but only have emotion. Yes, I have memories, but only have the emotion to it. I don't actually know the details of what happened. So not sure how to get past it. When it comes to EFT, you don't need to know everything. Okay. So, you know, sometimes things happen way before we're able to remember it. Okay. And the way that EFT works, you don't need to remember it. You know, I have people that have had trauma so deep they couldn't even talk about it, and they don't need to talk about it. They just need to repeat what I'm saying in their head. That's all. Doesn't even need to be out loud. Okay. So when it comes to memories, you know, if, you know, let's say there was such a thing as past lives. Let's say there was this thing called reincarnation. And let's say there's this thing called karmic energy that you carry through into a next life. Let's just say that's true. How would you possibly remember something from a previous life that you've carried through? How could you know? How could you remember that? You couldn't, right? So if that was the case, and there was this thing called reincarnation and karmic energy, then it would mean that, you know, we know karma isn't, karma's real. Karma is energy that what you give out, you get back. Okay. And we know that that's real. So karmic energy can be changed anytime it wants to be changed. So you don't need to remember what happened in a previous life. You just need to be able to change the karmic energy. And you don't need to remember what happened. We just need to be okay with the emotion on that, right? And we need to dismantle that emotion and actually separate it from whatever that was. It doesn't matter what it was. We just need to separate the emotion to it. So that can be done really easily as well. by all means, Laura, thank you. And, you know, feel free to get in touch, send me a Facebook message, send me a friend request, or email me, info@happymindhappyu.com. And, you know, I'd love to work with you. So I think we're all done here now. Are we, Claire? I think we're all done. Yep. Excellent. So just remember, the amygdala has a big key to play in everyone's lives, and especially in people who are neurodiverse. Okay. The size of it matters massively, whether it's big or small. You know, how it connects to the limbic system in the brain, and the prefrontal cortex, and how it actually interacts and sends those messages. It changes. Okay, we don't know the person on the inside. We're only seeing what's happening on the outside. We don't know the distress that they're experiencing inside. So always bear that in mind whenever we see anyone in trouble. And I wish you a lovely, lovely rest of your evening. Just breathe, smile, know that everything's going to be good. Everything's okay. You're okay. And keep shining brightly as the beautiful soul that you are. Live with hope, live with faith in your heart, and live with the feeling of happiness always. And thank you so much.